gon' put in work, clocking overtime, always on our grind.
What's going on, everybody? It's your man DJ Swan Thing, president of Always Working Radio. This is What Your Hustle, sponsored by Always Working Radio, man. And we are here. This is a podcast where I get the opportunity to introduce you to some great individuals in and out of the city, both professional and music related. And I'm really, really happy about this guest that I have on right now. Now, before I begin, you might have noticed that my wall in the background is empty. We are getting ready to move. And this will be the last recording that I do in the old house. So for those who've been following the podcast, will be like, well, man, what happened to all this stuff? It's all gone, but we'll be putting it back up together in the next month when you see the new crib, all right? But anywho, moving forward, I want to introduce, now I've seen this guy, we've been able to be in the same environment, same place, a couple events, both as spectators and at work. I've listened to this brother's work. I've seen what he does, and I'm very excited to be able to speak with him. You might have seen him last at, I've seen him last at Who's in the Room. If you're not familiar with that event, please go follow the EXO Collective, and you'll be able to see when the next event and that was coming. But without further ado, I'm going to make sure I say this right because I'm bad with names, Mr. Jamar Turner. Is that correct?
You got me right, man. That's how you say it, man. It's nice to be with you today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good, man. I appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate your time. We're going to get right into it. Let everybody know what your hustle.
My hustle is I am a wordsmith. I'm a poet. I'm a scholar. I'm an artist. And mainly, I just try to bring it together and community build and push the culture forward.
No doubt, man. And you know, like I said earlier, I've been able to hear some pieces of yours in the past. And one thing that I can appreciate is you have a way of setting things in a specific current reality, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And we'll get into, you know, kind of what your pieces are like, but for me, it always brings a perspective that enlightens both male and female, right? I have not heard yet a poem or a piece from you that excludes one or the other. You have a way of saying, hey, you know, we're both great, but we also both have some faults. Let me show you how. Let me show you what those are real quick. You know, and how the reaction to action works. Does that make sense? Am I okay? Explain that a little bit.
That's actually a really good dope observation. I'm glad you made that observation because when I try to do my work, I try to stay neutral.
Yeah.
Like I try not to take a side because I think that's what happens in our culture is like we become opponents, you know, rather than somebody being neutral and saying this is what we could do better and this is what they could do better. Yeah. So yeah, I try to stay neutral. So I'm glad you made that observation because that's like totally true. Like, you know, and a lot of my work comes out of my experience. Like I experience a lot on a regular basis. So like, you know, these are real people's stories, if not my own story.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'm glad we're on the same page with that. And it leads me up to my first question. You know, just kind of explain what your art is about.
Yeah. My art is about really coping and surviving. Like I'm a hospital chaplain by trade. So like I do a lot of work with people that are just really looking for resources to cope and survive. So a lot of my work I feel like I deal with how people cope, how people deal with the hard stuff that they're going through. Because I think that's what people most need are the tools to be able to be resilient with regardless of whatever they got going on.
Yeah. And we don't have to dive too much into that, but unless you want to, but in how does that profession and spoken word, how are you able to mesh the two while you're, let's say, at the hospital, or while you're I guess on the clock, for lack of a better term? You know, how are you able to mesh those two in order to, you know, get people to, you know, cope as you use, as they move forward in their lives?
That's actually the perfect question, because I'm actually writing a dissertation on this very thing. Like, how do we bring the arts into caring for people's spirits, and how do we build them up with the arts? I think, to answer your question directly, I think poetry is actually the language we use in distress. Like, because poetry is like such a language that's like, you understand it emotionally, but maybe not always cognitively.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I work in a cancer hospital. So there are a lot of emotions and spiritual issues and traumas and difficulties that people can express but can't really express.
Yeah.
And I feel like poetry is just that.
Yeah.
Like, I can say something as a poet and you feel it, even if you don't even if I don't say it directly.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that answer. I want to back it up a little bit, man, and just kind of talk about how you even got into poetry, how you got into spoken word, what got you into that notion?
I'm a writer. So like, I write books. I've written a book. I write journal articles, but I think the pandemic really put me into poetry, because I learned that, like, I'm an empath, so I'm always picking up people's emotions. And then, like, one of my trauma responses is to overthink. So I'm always carrying a lot of stuff. And I always say, if I was one thing, it would be an expressionist, because I'm the type of person where, like, I have to get out what's on the inside of me. So I think poetry allowed me a lane that was different from the other lanes that I was using.
Yeah.
And I think the pandemic really kind of brought that to a halt, where I had to use a different language to talk about the things that were going on.
Yeah. Now, did you jump into doing spoken word live right away, or was that a process? Did you start off, like you say, you were a writer, so did you kind of start off speaking out loud at home, then decided to kind of go out? Like, how did that transition?
Well, I mean, just to be clear, like, I've always addressed audiences. Like, I'm a preacher, so like, I've always addressed audiences.
Got you.
I've done some teaching, where I've done lectures. So I've always been an audience kind of person to like interact with audience. Yeah. So when I was writing poetry, I was actually writing. I'm actually trying to put together a poetry book, and that's really one of the things that kind of anchored the work. Was like, how do I put this together for this book? But I'm also the type of person where, like, I want to hear how people are responding. So I got up on my first spoken mic. People showed me love, and people have been showing me love ever since. So that's just kind of the way it happened.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that, and I'm sure that also helps inspire you. But what else? How do you find that inspiration, especially as you write that book? I'm sure that being in those live atmospheres, as you said, speaking with people and being a speaker in a sense, with the ability to talk in front of crowds, I'm sure had to cater to your inspiration. But what else inspires you?
Yeah, like, I'm just really in tune to like what's going on around me a lot of times, and how people are dealing with it or not dealing with it.
Yeah.
And I think just as a sneak preview, my book is going to be dealing with like coping and coping strategies. Like, so like, as I'm watching people use different strategies that sometimes, people might judge, but it's what they use. It's what they need to survive, and just really kind of dealing with that and delving into that concept. Yeah. But to answer your question, like, I'm just around people. I'm always among people, and I think I get my inspiration from the people.
Man, I love, and this wasn't on purpose, but the last three interviews, yourself, the two I had before you, have all kind of been in this same lane with either spoken word, mental health, those type of things, coping, grieving, or being able to come out of situations that turmoil, things like that. What do you think? I've kind of asked this question in the past, but how influential on the negative side, because there are some positive sides, but how influential do you think just avenues like social media, avenues where people are able to just give so many outright opinions, good and bad, and the way that people react to them and look at their lives. Social media specifically, I was saying this before, even as a grown adult, sometimes I catch myself looking at social media and like, damn, man, I'm almost 40, I'm 40 plus. Why, how come I'm not there yet? And a lot of times it's an illusion, but we don't think about it right away. Right. And for others, when they see that constantly, it's depression starts to set in, other things start to set in. So, what do you think social media specifically, how bad is that really playing a part in everything that you see, or playing a part in, the spoken word and having that release? Because that is a great way to release. That is a therapy, I like to say. But how influential is that to the people right now, just the way that the country is, the way society is, and having to deal and cope with a lot of things? How important is social media to those things?
I think it's like any tool. Like it has its difficult sides and it has its positive aspects to what you said.
Yeah.
And on the positive end, like I know a lot of people like myself who attempt to put out positive energy into social media. Like I attempt to put out positive art to disrupt the toxic art that's really kind of weighing our minds down. I do think social media can be a therapeutic outlet, but it's also like, not everybody should be allowed in your space. And I think sometimes, and even when I go into like my clinical background, like one of the things that we do to help people cope is get them off social media. So that said something, right?
Wow. Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like they actually monitor your screen time, because it does, you do start to pick up that competitive analysis. I'm not doing so good because this person is doing so good. And the reality of it is nobody's really sharing their dark days as in the same way they're sharing their celebrations, right?
Right. Yeah, man. I try to, because I realized, growing up, there wasn't always social media. And sometimes I purposely take a couple of days off or a week off. And I can tell the difference just in my attitude, just in that alone. Not saying that I have a bad attitude or anything like that, but just kind of how I view my day to day is different than when I'm, even if it's not constant, every hour, every couple hours, you know what I mean? But if there's nothing at all and everything is immediate, or everything is in person as far as talking to people and things, and you're just going about your day to day, it does seem to take a weight off when you're not with social media. That's crazy how that works. I love hearing that one of the ways is to be like, listen, we need you to get off that screen and let's come back and see how far we become. Yeah.
Because the reality of it is you can't control what you intake, right? You're just scrolling, right? So like a lot of times when I get on social media, I intentionally get on social media to encourage. So like I take on the attitude that I'm going to encounter somebody in low spirits.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, whether it's just a like or just a comment or, just to share something, I'm going to show some love. Yeah. And then I get off, like, because the fact of the matter is that can overtake you, right?
Yeah, get in and get out. Like,
and I think a lot of times, but as a storyteller, like it makes it easier for me to hear people's stories because they put them online, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's and I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe not for yourself, but there's probably spoken word artists that might have been able to use some of what they've seen and put them in pieces,
Right.
Even if it's not them directly, just seeing something could spark a line, spark a paragraph or a verse or something, in spoken word. So that's, those who are artists like yourselves, creatives like that, are able to take those tools that might not be so good for us as a whole, but can fine tune and pick some of the good things, and apply them to art. So I think that's great. I want to get back, definitely want to get back into that, man. And you expressing spoken word. And again, as earlier I said, I'm not that great with names, but I want to talk about your stage name, right? And I'll try to say it because it wasn't looking up, and I'm sure it's not hard, but so it's Marmitthegriot. Marmitthegriot. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Go ahead.
It's marmitthegriot.
Marmy
And
the Griot. Got you.
yeah.
My apologies for screwing that up.
That's good. That's good. People have a difficult time saying it. Early on in my life, I my name is Jamar Lamy, and my middle name is French, and it means to love. And really, and when I was a kid, like I just couldn't get it right, so I would call myself Marmy, like Marmy. And
Mm,
so when I was thinking about a stage name, I wanted it to be something sentimental because I was going to be vulnerable, right? And
right.
then a griot is like an African culture carrier. And I think for me in this season of my life, it's important that I bring all that I am to everything that I do. And I
Yeah,
think a griot is a person who like brings artistry, spirituality, but also culture and community together. And I
that's
think that's why I put that on the tail end because I'm like, that's what I'm about. That's what I'm trying to do.
yeah, that's great, man. That's great. And what's the reaction when you explain that to others? Because I'm sure you get that question a lot.
Yeah. They appreciate it, but there are some people that know, and then there are other people that they appreciate it. Like I actually
Yeah,
have a poem just wrestling. I wrote it on Mother's Day, just having a difficult time with my mother, and just wrestling with the idea that my mother named me to love, which was something that I didn't always feel from her.
yeah,
So it was just the irony of that to give me the name of the thing that she was struggling to give, and I was struggling to receive. So
yeah.
yeah, I appreciate talking about my name and sharing the meaning behind it because I think it just opens up for more, you know, inspiration.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love that. I love to hear that. I want to dig into the city a little bit, and I love talking about this, just especially with the guests that I have that are from Columbus or live in Columbus. That's part of the. Well, first of all, are you born and raised
I
Columbus? Or?
am born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. Yes, yes,
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Thoroughbred. No
yeah,
doubt,
yeah.
man. So
I'm a North Sider,
you said North Side.
North Side. Yeah,
Okay, north side right here too, and we on the north side as well, right over here. Yep,
yeah.
yep. Now I'm not born and raised from Columbus, but I definitely been on the north side since I got here, so I feel you.
Okay.
Yeah. And obviously this is not about me, but since I got into being a creative and getting into the city and seeing what the city offers in that environment, especially before COVID, right? Man, I mean, I was in awe, and I'm from New Orleans, so that's culture as well. That's a lot of
Oh
culture,
yeah,
too,
yeah, yeah.
but it was different because I wasn't in the creative environment back home. Here is where I started my creative environment. So I said all that to say, I really can enjoy and appreciate how many events and different things that are held for the local community,
Right.
and people who come from outside to Columbus to be a part of the creative community. What is one thing that you are really excited, especially being from here, really excited about as it pertains to the creative culture in this city?
Yeah. I'm just excited about the collaborations that people are making. Like, there's real love out here. Like I've supported some artists and the artists have supported me. Like and I've been in other communities and other pockets that just didn't show that kind of love.
Yeah,
I'm the type of person where like, I got a lot of things going on sometimes. So like I don't always fit in everybody's group. But
yeah,
but I feel like I belong when I'm with the creatives because like they're people like me, like you got multiple things going on, right? Like
absolutely.
you doing multiple things, whereas a lot of people, they don't really understand that. They're like,
Yeah.
why can't you just work one job and do this one thing? like
Yeah.
why? What's that about? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You know what? It's funny because I think that was something I learned really fast. Being a creative is that it behooves you to try and dip your hand in a few different things, right?
right.
And see what works for you, and what as a combination. And also, what I think is important, I think you'd be able to agree with this, is also find the right people that can help you in those different areas, right?
Right,
And
right.
that kind of helps it all bring it all together. So DJ, yes, first love is what I do the most, my radio station, podcast and stuff. But there's so much other stuff, as you said, that I'm involved in. But there's others who are taking the lead. I'm just a part of the process, right?
Right,
You
right,
know,
right,
so
right, right.
so it makes it feel like you're a little more like you're accomplishing a lot more at one time. You know what I mean?
And
So go ahead.
and I'm the type of person where I'm just passionate about different things at different times.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like I may not
yeah,
be like I
yeah.
just painted a mural, right? It was a 160-foot mural, like and after painting a mural that big, like I probably will not be doing that for a little while. like, just
No
to keep it
doubt.
100 with you,
Right, right. No
like
doubt.
just to keep it 100 with you, like I like, but I'm that way. Like I gotta do what's pulling me,
Yeah,
what's pushing me,
yeah,
and where I feel most supported.
yeah. So, I always ask this question to everybody just because, the response is so different and there's always something to take away. But, then I always start out by saying, there's always somebody who is looking up to where you are. Even if you don't feel like you're in where you should be, there's somebody that's like, man, I just want to get to where they're at. Right. And, a lot of times, and I think us as creatives, maybe not everybody, but I feel like you are one of these people as well, who uh, doesn't mind or actually looks forward to being able to upbring those who are coming behind us, right? Whether it be youth, whether it be somebody that's just, getting into a creative environment, their creative spirit, whatever it may be. What are you telling people right now who are looking to get more involved with spoken word or wanting to paint or just being in a creative environment, more involved with the creative environment? What are you telling people? What kind of advice are you giving those who are looking to get where you are currently?
I think I got here honestly just being my authentic self,
Yeah.
and I think that's so important because I had left the arts for like a while,
Okay.
and I just my life just was not, it wasn't healthy mentally or spiritually because my spirituality is deeply entwined with my art. So
Gotcha.
like to be separated like that separated me from myself. So I said that to say that yeah, you should definitely just be your authentic self. Love the skin you're in. Don't do it for the gram. Do it because it brings you joy, because it brings you happiness,
Yeah.
because you got to get it out into the world.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I love that. I love that. Is there anything where people can come and see you? Got anything coming up in the next few weeks?
I don't think I have anything coming up in the next few weeks, but you can always follow me on Jamar Turner Art, and that's on all social media sites. Marmita the Griot will be, at whatever spoken word I can get on because I'm just trying
Yeah.
to sharpen the craft.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And again, man, I love how, like I said, I've seen you in a couple places where you do come just to support, be in a place. And I think that's really important as a creative, especially in this city, to just show up.
Right, right, right.
I know a lot
And
of
for me, it's
times.
about the community as well. It's about the
Yeah.
community as well.
Right, man. So I think that's really important. If anybody that's watching this or that's gonna watch this, that's in the city or surrounding areas, take that to heart. Just see if there's an event that you're close to, or check out your social media or my social media or somebody else, and say, you know what, I'm gonna just pull up. Even if you got
Yeah,
to
yeah,
few bucks for the entry fee, whatever the case may be, just pull up. I think there's so much inspiration just
right.
being in the place.
Right. You took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say that. Like, even if you don't get on the mic, like there's the inspiration that you can walk away with that's going to help you create your next piece, or even just might give you the inspiration you need to push forward in whatever your next initiative
Whatever.
is.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I really appreciate you, brother. This was great. This was enlightening. And I just, again, thank you for taking your time to be a part of this podcast. We don't, we don't get a lot of, I don't get to talk to the brothers a lot, man. Well, the sisters are killing the game. And I'm
They are.
happy to say that, but it's also good to, be able to chop it up with a brother of mine and, just get that perspective every now and again as well, man. So one more time, give your social media.
I'm at Jamar Turner Art. My stage name is Marmita the Griot, so you might see me around on flyers and stuff. Just come check us out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, man, DJ Swamp Thing, DJ underscore SWMP THING. Make sure that you follow Always Working Radio on IG. That's always with 2 L's. And stay tuned for the new and improved website. It is down right now. You can still listen to music on TuneIn, but look out for that new flyer with our upcoming brand new website. I'm really excited to show you guys what it's all about. Of course, you'll be able to hear the same great music, but also there'll be events that you can check out. Stuff like my man's gonna be on. You might see me somewhere. You just never know what's going on. All right, so like, subscribe right here on YouTube. We're dropping these things every Monday. This is What's Your Hustle. One more time, I'm DJ Swamp Thing. Big shout out to my man Jamar. We'll see y'all next time. Salute.
All right, till next time.
Chin up, chest out, lace your shoes.